And I want to welcome you all here to one of my neighborhood coffee shops, Detroit Sip. And thank Giovanna Watson. I think she's here, Giovanna. There you go. Thank you for hosting us and having us in your great space today. A female-owned business right here on the northwest side of Detroit in our neighborhoods. Giovanna, you are the pillar of communities like ours, and you help to make our spaces prosper and grow, and we thank you for that. So being the proprietor of a space like this is part of the reason why we're here, Giovanna, is to help celebrate people like you and to make greater places for innovators and dream go-getters and placemakers, just like in the space that we gather here today. So at Bank of America, we are truly committed to help build and grow communities, especially right here in the place that we call home. We aim to do that through our expertise, with our global reach, our local touch, our resources, but primarily we can only accomplish that through strategic partnership. So with that, to share our announcement, I'm pleased to introduce you to Michigander and Michigan Market President for Bank of America and Midwest Region Executive for Business Banking, Mr. Matt Elliott. Matt?
Thank you, Tiffany. Good afternoon, everybody. And Giovanna, thank you again for hosting us. We really appreciate it. Mr. Mayor, thank you for your leadership and for joining us today, and also to our partners at LISC and Invest Detroit. My job is simply to provide an overview of the announcement that we're going to make and hopefully put that into a little bit of context. You know, for us, that context really starts with our mission, which is to improve the financial needs of our clients, our customers, and our communities. And doing that work really starts by asking a question. What would you like the power to do? And frequently when we ask the question, the answers that we get, number one, I'd like to own my own home. And secondly, I'd like to be able to start my own business. And so for us today is about how we're supporting our customers, our clients, and our neighbors to help make that dream a reality. And really the way that we do it is by doing our best work, bringing our best thinking, and sharing our success. So what I'm going to do is start off really by talking about how we're sharing our success, not only with our communities, but also with our teammates. And that's important for us here in Michigan as well as it is across our own footprint. You know, for us, starting at home means eating our own cooking and sharing our success with our teammates, which is why I'm proud to share two recent announcements that we've made that I think are pretty relevant to today's discussion. Number one, for the third year in a row, we're issuing special bonuses for all but our highest earning teammates around the globe as a way to share that success. So what that means is that in all 95% of our teammates will be covered by these awards. And this is the third year in a row that we've done that. We're the only company that we know of that's done 3 of these types of awards at the end of the year right in a row. Secondly, we're accelerating by a year the increase in our minimum wage to $20 an hour. Put simply, our lowest wage will be $20 in 2020, which on a full-time basis equates to a living wage of $41,000 a year. Of course, that covers every one of our employees here in Michigan and in Metro Detroit. See, getting a little closer to home here in the community, we're really dedicated to creating pathways to employment, delivering financial education, supporting entrepreneurship, and helping to foster stable, thriving neighborhoods. Through key programs such as our Neighborhood Builder Award, which Tiffany will talk a little bit about later, we've supported institutions such as Focus Hope, Sayre Metro, the Greening of Detroit, the Build Institute, Motor City Match, which I think Giovanna took advantage of to open this great location, and many other community partners dedicated to building strong communities and thriving neighborhoods. Over the last 10 years, we've delivered over $30 million of support to fund these initiatives. But we do a lot more than write checks. We've activated those investments across the state and across the city with more than 200,000 volunteer hours logged by our teammates. And today, we're happy to announce that we're deepening our investments in Detroit's neighborhoods by increasing our philanthropic commitments and expanding support for home affordability. So let me start with the home affordability piece. First, we're investing another $1.5 million in the 0% interest home repair loan program, which is a partnership with Local Initiatives Support Corporation, or LISC, and the city of Detroit. Over the last 5 years, this program has supported 500 homeowners, you'll meet one in a second, and their families to repair and rehabilitate their homes with a 0% interest loan. This proven program is helping people stay and invest in our historic neighborhoods right here in Detroit. Secondly, we've recently brought to Detroit our Community Homeownership Grant Program. This is the bank's national program to help foster homeownership, which focuses on low to moderate income areas and home buyers of color. We offer 2 different grant programs which can provide up to $17,500 of down payment and closing assistance to address what we see is the largest financial homeowner, and that's pulling together the down payment and closing costs required into the home. Overall, we've made a $5 billion commitment nationwide to these initiatives, and Mr. Mayor, we look forward to Detroiters taking at least their fair share of the $5 billion, and if we can have anything to do with it, we'll get more. Thirdly, in order to continue the great progress that we've made so far in the city, and we know there's a lot more to be done, my teammates and I today are excited to commit over $1 million to Invest Detroit so that it can expand its work in the diverse neighborhoods of the Strategic Neighborhood Fund footprint. This approach, in partnership with the City of Detroit, brings equitable, measured, targeted, and concentrated investment to more Detroiters and the neighborhoods in which they live. Importantly, this funding will be targeted towards building commercial corridors in all of SNF's targeted neighborhoods, just like the one that's outside the door here. And we look forward to visiting the businesses that these investments help support. So the reason why we're making these investments really goes back to what I said earlier. This is about us sharing our success because we know that we must do that in order for communities to be successful. But more personally, we're not just employees of Bank of America and Merrill. We're also Detroiters and Michiganders. And for us, this is home. This is personal work. And we care about the city and its residents, and we appreciate the opportunity to serve. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Mayor Duggan to give us more details.
Well, thank you, Matt, and thank you, Tiffany. This is getting to be an almost everyday occurrence with the business community, the banking community investing in neighborhoods. And it was a natural progression, but we've been able to turn our attention in a pretty dramatic way. When we started Motor City Match, we had this idea that you could take the storefronts that were abandoned in Detroit and with some support, could turn them into thriving businesses. And Giovanna Watson is one of the 81 businesses that is opened in this city as a result. 2 years ago, this was a vacant storefront. Now, we're starting to improve things. We're doing a whole lot of work back in the neighborhood, and I think you're gonna see a number of people follow you down here, and ultimately we're gonna build out a streetscape on McNichols. If Bank of America had not been in at the beginning on Motor City Match, you'd be looking at a vacant storefront. What they're doing matters. And with the money that they're putting into Invest Detroit, that's money that we can put into more of these storefronts. And here's what happened. I was at DMC when nobody knew what Midtown was. And at that point, the Kresge Foundation and the Hudson Weber Foundation and DMC and Wayne State and Henry Ford put money in to help develop those businesses. We had to subsidize them early on because they couldn't make it. Today, Midtown businesses are doing great. Now we're having to subsidize businesses out this way. But in a few years, we think the same thing will have happened, and we're deeply appreciative of the pioneers like Giovanna. The other thing that frustrated me to no end was from 2000 to 2010, about 250,000 people moved out of this city. And if you had to do significant work on your house and take out a mortgage to do it, most Detroiters figured out, if I got to put that much into my house, I'm better off just walking away and putting that money into a new house in the suburbs. And we lost a ton of people. And so we started the 0% loan program to say, if you'll stay, we will give you a loan that you can pay back over 10 years at 0%. Put the money into your house. And we've had hundreds of people who have seen the property values in my neighborhood are coming up. It makes sense for me to do this. And again, Bank of America from day one was a huge partner in the 0% loan program. This affects real people in a real way. And I'd like you to hear from one of those folks who, as far as I'm concerned, is the star of this particular event. But Mr. Felton Walker has lived near Joy and Livernois in his house for nearly 20 years. He's one of those who could have moved to the suburbs. But instead of walking away and leaving another abandoned house in the city, he participated in the 0% loan program, fixed the house, and I think he's here for the long run, and I'm sure it's encouraging others in his neighborhood. Please welcome Mr. Felton Walker.
First of all, I'd like to give recognition to the mayor because he has made a revolutionary change to this city and the people that surround him. And all the different corporations throughout the state, the country, that has participated in this for the growth of this particular city and the state. It needs to be recognized because this has not happened before, and that should be understood. This is not some sort of publicity stunt where they selected me to come up here and try to give brownie points to the mayor. That's not it. That's not. And I want you to understand that. To all of the viewers that's watching and listening, I've been in my house since 1998. And I'm also a retired radiographer from the Detroit Medical Center. And I ran into some hardships and some real difficult times. Excuse me. And it was through this program that I was able to keep my home. My house had went into foreclosure. I got caught up in that AmeriQuest scandal situation, and it was bad. And but I continued to pay my taxes through the programs, through the city, and when I found out about this program, there was a young lady that was coming through the neighborhood, and she had 2 other young Detroit residents that she was tutoring, and she came past my home. My house was built in 1922, so it's almost 100 years old. It's made of fieldstone. It's a very unique building, and I loved my home. I put a lot of work in it, and when she came by, she saw that, the grass was cut, and I had some flowers there and shrubs and stuff, and a fountain and some other things. It's a double lot. And she said, wow. She introduced herself. She said, Mr. Walker, how's things going? I said, well, it's kind of tough. I'm trying to hang on to my house. She said, well, we have a program at the USHC. Is that what it's called? UCHC program. It's off of 2nd and Temple. And I went there. And they said, well, Mr. Walker, you qualify. We can help you keep your home. And after they, did the background, a lot of questions and things like that, after about 3 days, I got a call. Said, Mr. Walker, can you come down to the office? We want to talk to you. And I thought something had gone wrong. And they said, we're able to get your home, to keep your home, with the taxes, everything paid, for $1,000. And when she told me that, the tears just came down because it was hard. And I got my home back for $1,000. Taxes were paid, and it needed repairs. I needed a roof. There's no insulation upstairs. The windows were leaking. And but just the fact that I could keep the home, and I had enough diligence and capabilities and the capacities to do most of the work myself, I started working on the home. And in that particular program, if you had X amount of dollars, they would match it up to $10,000. So I said, cool. So I'm on a fixed income, so I said, well, I can save this amount, and they would match up to $10,000. So that continued on, and I was trying to save the money at the same time working on the home. And then they came up with the 0% interest loan for $25,000. And I want people to understand, this is a loan for home repairs. It's not for you to take a vacation and, go buy a new car, clothes and stuff, because you get the impression, because that was the first impression for me, although I'm not that type of person to do that. I'm truly not. I have a different set of principles and values and morals. And I'm not like the average Detroiter. I want you to understand that. Everyone does not have the same perseverance, diligency, and integrity to do what I did, okay? But I always try to set example. And it does work. If you set the example, in my yard, I keep the grass cut. I try to help, the neighborhood guys. If I have some bottles, I give it to them because I understand their plight. And I want you to understand this because it's never been addressed correctly or properly. In our culture, collectively speaking, we have not been taught credit. It wasn't taught to us. I didn't know anything. We experienced, in most cases, it's too late when you find out about it. And you don't have the necessary funds or the right contacts to file bankruptcy, to start all over again. It's just not there for us. You know, our education is inferior to the rest of the country. You know, the books are obsolete. The teachers really don't care. The rooms are overcrowded. And it's difficult. It's not easy. And I give credit to United States Marine Corps. I've served for 5 years in the United States. I escorted dead bodies from Vietnam, okay? And I was 17 years old. And they throw you in a situation, but we have a code. And that code is to prioritize, organize, and execute. That's not taught to the average person. So I want you to take all these other variables into consideration, that this is a unique situation, but it is an example for everyone else. And so when they came to the house and they told me that I qualified for that $25,000, 0% interest loan, when they came to the house, there were some things that I had to do, because they had to first do a lead inspection. And I had a lot of lead in my house in certain areas. So I had to get my scraper out, and I had to do a bunch of scraping, and I had to get the ladder and climb up, and it wasn't easy. And there was a time period. I had to meet that time period, you know, within a certain, because there are other people that, and other property owners that had to do the same thing. So you have to do your part. And when you do your part, in most cases, the results is wonderful. So they replaced my roof. Through that loan, I was able to have my roof replaced, the garage and the home. They replaced the gutters. They also assisted me in insulation upstairs, because there was no insulation in the home. And believe you me, in the wintertime, when it's below 30s, 20s, and 0, I had to stay in one room, okay, and cover up, because I couldn't afford that gas bill. It was over the top. But just now, this past month or so, it got a little cool, and my home will stay at 60 degrees. If I set it, it'll stay there, you know. And it's just comforting. So they insulated the upstairs. They replaced they put block windows, because I had no block windows. I had no security doors. And if you live in Detroit, you know most of the homes in Detroit, they have the bars and all the rest of the stuff. I had none in my house. So I do have a raw iron fence in the front and surrounding, everything is closed in. And so they were able to do that. And what else did they do? Those are the 4 major things: the windows, the insulation, the security doors, and the roof. And there's no way I was able to afford that. And like I say, this is a loan, and I have to pay that back. But if you saw my house and I had to redo the bathroom, the kitchen, everything had to be redone. The walls, everything was peeling, and it was just work. And so, okay, I'm gonna finish up. But I want you to know, I wouldn't be able to do this without that program. And I hope that you guys continue to do this, giving opportunities for the people in the city of Detroit, and there is hope, okay? And you give us that, and we appreciate that. I just want you to understand that. And thank you for the opportunity to say something, make comments on this, because it is a positive thing, and it doesn't happen every day. Thank you very much.
Stories like Mr. Walker's are so important as we think about home ownership. Good afternoon. My name is Tahira Ziegler. I'm the Executive Director for LISC, or Local Initiatives Support Corporation, and we've been working in Detroit for over 30 years. We'd like to thank Bank of America today for its continued support of the 0% interest home repair program, and also the partnership with the city of Detroit. This really came out of Mayor Duggan's vision, so thank you, Mayor, where he really challenged us to figure out how to bring a product to the market that was going to help all kinds of homeowners from all different walks of life and all different incomes. So since 2015, we've been a partner with Bank of America and the City of Detroit in this public-private partnership that's been created to provide interest-free financing for homeowners living in our neighborhoods to maintain and improve their homes. And with today's announcement, this is the third phase and tranche of Bank of America's commitment to investing in this particular program for a total of $7.7 million that has matched the city's community development block grant funding of about $11 million, bringing the total program to $18 million to Detroit. I think that deserves a round of applause. And this program is not possible without our partners. I want to just mention our intake centers across the city. In Northwest Detroit, we've got Wayne Metro Community Action Agency in District 2, Cody Rouge Community Action Alliance in District 7, New Hope Community Development in District 7 as well. On the east side, we have Jefferson East Incorporated, District 5, and USNAP back in District 4. In Central Woodward, we have Central Detroit Christian CDC, Goodwill Industries, and Operation Able. And in Southwest Detroit, Bridging Communities, Southwest Economic Solutions, and Sayre Metro. All of those partners are where homeowners can walk into these organizations and get applications for the 0% home repair program. Our lending partners are One Detroit Credit Union and Opportunity Resource Fund. They're the folks that are actually giving the mortgages to consumers. Through this work of our intake centers and our lending partners, we have close to 1,000 homeowners who have been approved for a home repair program and loan. And these loan program funds have enabled borrowers like Mr. Walker to receive a new roof, gutter downspouts, and all of the work that Ms. Hodges has had to do according to her affordable housing, homeowners insurance, and replacing her inoperable furnace. So to date, we've had close to 500 homeowners who have borrowed $9 million, which is a direct reinvestment into their homes and neighborhoods. Some of the testimonial that you heard today for the story and journey from Mr. Walker, and some of the other things that we hear from homeowners is that this program was advantageous for me and my wife as we sought out financing for a number of years. The City of Detroit, thank you so much. We'd like to see more of this. Another homeowner stated, it's a blessing. The program was right on time for what I needed. And lastly, a homeowner explained, my wife and daughters were excited to see all of the work done to our house. I'm grateful to be able to live in the neighborhood and home that I grew up in as a child. These are just some of the testimonials from some of the homeowners, and we look forward to our continued partnership with Bank of America and the City of Detroit. Thank you again for your support of the 0% home repair program.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Come on, pick it up. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? I'm Dave Blaszkiewicz with Invest Detroit, and just by way of background for those not familiar with our organization, we're a nonprofit organization that's working on building density in the city of Detroit, working on supporting the creation of thriving neighborhoods, and working on creating jobs for Detroiters. What that means, translated, is that Invest Detroit provides capital to neighborhood real estate projects, including housing and commercial projects. We support industrial and commercial development and businesses, and we invest in small businesses throughout the city, but primarily in the strategic neighborhood areas today. I want to just take one step back. We're celebrating some really terrific stuff that B of A is doing today, but I think it's important to recognize the long history that they have had in supporting redevelopment in the city of Detroit. Mayor mentioned the Midtown work that was started about 10 years ago in earnest, and at the same time there was a focus plan on downtown Detroit as well, both focusing on these targeted geographies. As that process started, it was very difficult to put projects together. The economics were incredibly difficult. And getting things over the finish line was nearly impossible. Bank of America was one of those banks that showed up was willing to take extreme risks on commercial projects and housing projects in Midtown. And they took on some remarkably complicated and large projects in the downtown, including the Broderick Tower and the David Whitney Building, the gateway projects to downtown Detroit. One of the first and only banks, I'll point out, at the time that was willing to take on that kind of senior debt risk. That is not to be undersold. Well, and by the way, I think that was absolutely the fundamental starting point, the work that took place in Midtown and downtown to the revitalization of that greater downtown area. So with that, as we've learned lots of lessons in the Midtown downtown area, and we began to export those, we all, came together around a partnership. The mayor led the partnership around the strategic neighborhood process. Obviously, we are a strong partner in that process. We're the fiduciary for that particular program, and worked hand in glove on that public-private partnership. As we went from 0 to 10 neighborhoods, we internally had to expand our group, build new systems, and put the appropriate things in place to support that kind of future activity. So translated, that meant that over the last 2 years, we have hired 18 folks and have put in a significant back room. Now, all of that is terrific, and all of that is possible because of the generosity of these operating grants. I will tell you from a nonprofit's perspective, and any other nonprofits in the room, you know how difficult and how important that type of financing is, to get an operating grant to support the expansion and capacity of your organization so you can do the good work that you are intending to do, is so vitally important. It is also incredibly difficult to find folks willing to make that kind of investment. So I will say, to my knowledge, this is the largest grant I know that we have seen on an operating basis, a $1 million grant from Bank of America to Invest Detroit, so we can continue to expand all of this great work in Detroit's neighborhoods. I think more important than any of that, I mean, it's great for us, hooray, but setting that aside, what does that mean for the communities themselves? And what this really means is that we can work with more emerging developers, more emerging general contractors and contractors in the neighborhoods. We can work on more developments in the neighborhood and get to a faster deployment model. That means that we're making a lot more stuff happen in a shorter period of time. And I do think that the ultimate winners of that type of scenario is the community itself and the residents of those communities that we're focused in on. So again, I want to thank Bank of America for their deep and consistent support of Detroit's revitalization. But I'm going to single out Matt and Tiffany as two really important people. To do what they do, you really have to get embedded in the work that is taking place. You have to have an understanding of the work, and you also have to have trust in your partners. And for that, I wanted to make sure that I was calling them out specifically and saying thank you to Matt and Tiffany for all of the support that you have given us at Invest Detroit. Thank you very much.
Well, everyone, we're at Bank of America. We want to thank all of our partners again. Again, this is about living somewhere between hope to hope, solution to solution, forgetting the problems that we have and making sure that all Detroiters, our region and our state can thrive. Because we know if we're a top 10 state, that lifts the boat on for all of us. And before we depart, I just have a couple closing thoughts. First, I'd like to invite Giovanna Watson to come and say something just briefly about Motor City Match and the benefit, Giovanna, that's been and how you see your impact here locally on McNichols.
So first I'll say good afternoon, and I want each of you to know that you are sitting inside of a dream come true. I live, work, and play in Detroit on purpose. This is more than a business opportunity. This is also the neighborhood in which I do live. I'm a proud Detroiter. Motor City Match was very key in helping to start the business with the startup construction cost it was invaluable. I won in round 2. I've lost track of what round they're on now. Round 12. But it really does help people like myself that are small businesses, and I didn't know what I didn't know. I've never owned a business before, so it has been a huge support system. And as a small business owner, I would just like to say, I've found that it's easier to start the business than it is to sustain. So it's very important to, after the business is open, to continue to support because it's the only way that we survive. So thank you again for coming. I can't say it enough. I'm a proud Detroiter, and thank you again.
So on behalf of our teammates and our leadership, not just locally, but those that sit around the country that love Detroit just as we do, we are honored to contribute to this great place, helping to support the people, places, and projects that move Detroit and continue to do that. And I want to thank our partners at Invest Detroit, the City of Detroit, LISC, and it is not without your vision and your work, your sustained, steadfast leadership and connectivity that we can do it. So thank you for giving us that opportunity. Mr. Mayor, we look forward to being partners with you for a long time. Next Wednesday is our annual Day of Give. And anyone at Bank of America knows that we always ask people if they're going to give. And for us, it's an acronym, so we're famous for acronyms in financial services, that means get involved, volunteer, and engage. And it's what not only our communities ask of us, but we ask of our teammates and ourselves. And it's a day we get to mobilize over 150 of our teammates to really go see where the sausage is being made on right here. We span across the city, and today is an early indication of the celebration that we'll have next week, where we've had over 600 people RSVP to come and celebrate that work. So we know that the headwinds are tough, but the path is paved, the work is good, the partners are strong and steadfast, and we're here and we're pleased to be part of that work. If any of you want to benefit from the programs that you heard of today, you can go to bankofamerica.com/firsthome, or you can visit DetroitHomeLoans.org for the 0% interest home repair program. We like to say, no Detroiter untouched by one of these programs, because many of us know folks that can benefit from them. We thank you for your support. We encourage your continued commitment, and we thank you for the inspiration. Have a great day, Mr. Mayor. We'll stand with you.